You spent your childhood in a dusty Nevada town where no one had any reason to stop. Your father was a long-haul truck driver. He would come home smelling of diesel, cheap coffee, and fatigue. He had no close friends, only the people he met at highway diners. He drove for 30 years, and what was left of him? A broken back, a heart attack, and a 10-year-old Peterbilt truck whose installments now rested on your shoulders. You were 19 when you first took the wheel of that truck. You didn't attend college because people with degrees don't pay your bills. The first 4 years were like a living corpse. You delivered frozen meat and auto parts from one corner of the country to the other, driving 14 hours a day. At 3 a.m., that white line on the highway hypnotizes you. Your mind goes numb. The sound of static on the radio is your only companion. You think you're free, but in reality, you're just trapped in an 18-wheeler. You earn $1.20 per mile. After you add in engine oil, the rising price of diesel, and road tax, you're left with just enough to drive again next week, hungry. Then, one night, at a cheap truck stop outside El Paso, the course of your life changes. It's 2 a.m. Your coffee has gone cold, and you're sitting alone at a table, waiting for the next load. A man comes and sits across from you. He's wearing a simple jacket, but his watch is very expensive. He doesn't look you in the eye. He simply places a coffee cup on the table. His name is Vargas. He knows your name, the model of your truck, and he also knows that last month the bank sent you a notice to repossess your truck. Vargas's voice is completely calm. He doesn't threaten anything. He simply offers a business deal. You have to pick up a load from San Diego and take it to Denver. The trailer will be pre-sealed. You mustn't break the seal. You mustn't ask questions. You just have to take the bypass route I'll tell you before you reach the way station. You'll receive $15,000 in cash upon arrival. $15,000. That was your 6 months' worth of earnings, earned in just 2 days' travel. The fear inside you screamed, "This is wrong." But the voice of the notice from the bank was louder than the fear. You said yes. The first drive was mental torture. You felt every police car following you. Your hands were so tight on the steering wheel that your fingers went numb. You could smell the drugs, or whatever it was, wafting from the trailer behind the truck. But the reality was utterly boring. You arrived in Denver. You parked your truck near an empty warehouse. 2 ordinary-looking guys came, unloaded the goods from a forklift, and handed you a brown envelope. No guns, no action, just a transaction. You left, got in your truck, and opened the envelope. Bundles of $100 bills. That night, you slept comfortably in a cheap motel. You thought you'd beaten the system. You thought it was just a one-time thing. That's the biggest lie you tell yourself. 3 years pass. You're no longer in debt to the bank. You own a brand-new 2024 model custom sleeper truck. You have money, but you have nowhere to spend it. You have millions of dollars in your account, but you can't legally display it. You still eat at cheap restaurants to avoid being noticed. A cartel, syndicate, isn't a movie villain that kills people every day. A cartel operates just like a large corporate company. They have logistics managers, they have routes, they have formulas for calculating risk. You meet Vargas's boss, Elias. He sits in a swanky office. He talks about territories, supply chains, and profit margins. Crime is no longer bloodshed, it's just mathematics. You're a small cog in that machinery. As long as you deliver your goods without question, you're a VIP. You feel like they've become your family. When your truck's engine seizes, the syndicate gets you a new one without asking. When you fall ill, a private doctor comes to your room and treats you. This respect gets you used to it. You feel special. This misconception is shattered one night. You had a fellow driver, Hutch, a quiet 50-year-old man with a wife and 2 daughters. Hutch was one of the syndicate's oldest drivers. One night, Hutch's truck is caught in a surprise check near the Arizona border. 200 kilos of cocaine is found hidden under the trailer. Hutch is arrested on the spot. The syndicate's rule was, if you get caught, your family is our responsibility. We'll provide a lawyer. You saw what happened. The first month, Elias sent money to Hutch's wife. The second month, the money was halved. By the third month, the lawyers stopped picking up the phone. Hutch's wife came crying to the warehouse. 2 bouncers pushed her out. You asked Vargas. Hutch was our man. How could we abandon him like this? Vargas stared at you, his voice devoid of emotion. Hutch is now a dead asset. His risk profile exceeds our profit margin. This isn't friendship. This is business. That one line shook you to the core. The brotherhood, the loyalty you took so much pride in, was just a calculation on a spreadsheet. You realized that the day your truck's taillights broke and the police stopped you, you too would become Hutch. Your existence only existed as long as the trailer's seal remained intact. You began to live in fear. You couldn't sleep at night. You saw the feds in every passing car. You had made a friend, Maya. She worked at a rest stop. You would visit her, and you had a bond. But you couldn't tell her the truth about yourself. You smiled at her, but your mind was racking your brains. If there was a raid right now, would Maya be jailed just for standing near you? You had become a walking threat to everyone around you. Finally, you stopped seeing Maya without telling her. You cut yourself off from everyone so you wouldn't be exposed to your risk. There was a lot of money, but now it was nothing more than pieces of paper. You were in a cage whose key you had thrown into the river yourself. You knew there were only 2 ways out: 25 years in prison, or a bullet that would send you crashing into an empty abyss. You imagined that when your bad times came, they would be like something out of an action movie. Police cars, sirens, and gunfire. But in reality, death and destruction are silent. They don't come suddenly. They slowly circle around you. It starts with small things. A nondescript white car shows up at your truck stop for 3 days in a row. Your new phone, only a week old, makes a faint click before the call connects. New officers suddenly appear at your regular checkpoints, staring at your papers for 2 seconds longer. Your mind tells you that you're just overthinking, but the animal inside you knows you're about to be hunted. You look at the other drivers in the syndicate. They're still carefree. They're sitting in dabbas, laughing, talking about their new trucks. But you don't sit with them anymore. You know that one of them is already in cahoots with the police. Someone has already made a deal to get their sentence reduced, and he's selling names to the syndicate. It was only a matter of time before your name appeared on that list. It was a snowy December night. You were on a deserted highway in Wyoming. Your trailer was loaded. Nearly $3 million worth of illegal goods were hidden in the back, hidden among boxes of auto parts. You were stopped for a routine check. You rolled down your window and pulled out your papers. But the man who approached your truck wasn't wearing a police uniform. He was wearing a cheap gray suit. Smoke from his breath wafted in the air. He calls your name, your real name. He doesn't look at your papers. He climbs onto the footboard of the truck and, without any threat, says, "Stop the engine. Get out." Your heart feels like pounding out of your chest. You grip the steering wheel tightly. For a second, you consider pushing the truck forward. But then, in the darkness ahead, you see 3 black SUVs. Game over. He takes you to a cheap diner, empty at 3 a.m. It was Agent Miller. Miller doesn't yell, doesn't slam the table. He talks like an accountant. He places a thick file on the table. The file opens, and your entire life is scattered there. The pages are full. Your bank accounts, your fake companies, your GPS routes for the past 4 years, and photos of the motel where you used to meet Maya. "RICO Act," Miller says. You're charged with drug trafficking, money laundering, and conspiracy, a minimum sentence of 30 years. You're 27 now. You'll be 57 when you get out. Your truck will be confiscated. Your life will be over. Then Miller does what you feared most. He plays a recording. The voice on it was your boss, Elias. Elias was talking to another agent. Elias was providing details of his most loyal drivers to get his own sentence reduced. Elias, who was your family, had already sold you out to the police. The $3 million worth of cargo you carried wasn't the real shipment. It was just a bait to distract the police so that Elias's real $20 million worth of cargo could escape safely. You were just a pawn destined for death. Miller hands you a card. We need Elias and his top management. You'll get immunity. You have until tomorrow morning. Our man will accompany you with the truck. As soon as the goods are unloaded at Elias's warehouse, we'll raid it. You just have to carry on with your work as normal. If you try to escape, this file will be on the judge's table tomorrow morning. Miller gets up and leaves. You're sitting alone in the bar. Your face is visible in your cold coffee, a face you don't even recognize. You had two options. First, betray Elias and become a police informant. But the cartel doesn't leave any informant alive. They'll find you even in jail. Second, keep quiet and rot in prison for 30 years. But that night, you choose a third option. You leave the bar, you walk towards your truck. The police officers who are watching you from a distance think you'll start the truck and go to the warehouse. You get into the truck, but you don't start the engine. You take out your dash cam. You take your wallet, all your credit cards, and your phone from your pocket and place them on the passenger seat. You only take a bag containing a few $1,000s in cash, which you always kept hidden for emergencies. You leave the truck door open, leaving the keys in place. Taking advantage of the darkness, you pull off onto the side of the highway and head towards the woods. You don't look back. You knew that by morning, when they found out, you would have crossed several states, hiding on a freight train. In that one night, you had destroyed your entire identity, all your wealth, and your family. You were alive, but your soul was left in that truck seat. I'm no longer you. I'm a different man. I live under a different name in a very small village in Washington state, inhabited only by loggers. Time seems to stand still here. People generally don't interfere in others' lives. I've opened a small garage where I repair locals' pickup trucks and chainsaws. My fingers are always covered in oil and dirt. I earn just enough to pay rent and eat. I don't have a smart TV or a new phone. I live on cash and sleep in darkness. I have no wife, no friends. When a woman smiles at me at the village diner, I get up and leave because I don't want to bring anyone else into the shadow of my lies. Sometimes, at night, when everything is quiet, I sit by my window. A highway passes a few miles away. The deep rumble of the engines of 18-wheel trucks occasionally wafts through the air. That sound sounds like a wailing animal. My heart sinks. I miss the leather seats of my truck, those dashboard lights, that false sense of freedom, that adrenaline. I miss Maya. I miss my real name. The world of crime doesn't punish you by sending you to jail. The world of crime punishes you by letting you live. It strips you of everything, your trust, your peace, and your very existence. Syndicates and cartels don't own anyone. They only take advantage of lonely people who think they've found a home. But in the end, you end up right where you started, alone, in the dark, listening to a voice that is no longer your home. If you've reached this point in this story, you must have understood that true freedom in life lies not in walking on the wrong path, but in sleeping peacefully. This story was a work of fiction, but thousands of such stories are still unfolding on some dark highway or the other. Subscribe if you like such deep, dark, and realistic stories. See you in the next video.